Welcome to the Day One Friday. My name is Michael Olschimke. I'm the CEO of Scalefree, and we run the show here every Friday, apparently, to allow you, the audience, to ask questions. Apologies for last time where we had some audio and video problems. We're testing a new setup. You don't see that much from your perspective at the moment, but there's some stuff going on here in the studio. And one of the devices, failed. So that's why I would like to essentially repeat last time's question, essentially, just because the recording was completely messed up. And so if you might leave today or just stay around again for a full recording or better recording, essentially. All right, let me just share my screen here. This one here. Okay. So the question, the question essentially is all about the link record source. And let me just go through this here one. So apparently a link refers to a hub multiple times, right? Well, or refers to multiple hubs, let's say that. And the confusion here is on the record source, because there's only one record source in the link structure. The thing is that the record source does not indicate, or it's not related to the hub reference or one of the hub references. Instead, it's also, if let's say a link refers to hubs from different source systems, which might be the case, that's all good. The record source has nothing to do with that. The record source really indicates where your relationship comes from, the relationship record essentially inside the link entry, link entity. And a link could be loaded from different source systems at the same time, same as hubs. Hubs and links might come from different source systems. The satellites, there's a best practice to not load a satellite from different source systems at once. So one source system is only loaded into one satellite. Well, or the other way around, better. A satellite is only loaded from one source system. There's some exceptions to the rule. Multi-tenancy systems, for example, IoT data. Not going into detail on that. But in general, hubs and links might be loaded from different source systems at once. And it's very common, actually. So it's not very uncommon, it's actually common. Because the idea of the hub is to integrate data from, or is to identify records and by capturing the business keys, and those business keys are used to integrate data from different source systems. And therefore we need to load all the business keys that identify your business objects into the hub structure. And the source system that delivers the business key for the very first time essentially gets the load date and the record source. Those will define the load date. When did the source system deliver the business keys for the very first time, and the record source? Where did this business key come from when loaded for the very first time? That's it. And we never touch the record source. We never touch the load date, right? Like updating those when the keys sent again and again. And the same is true for links. A link could be loaded from different source systems. Let's say you got a organization hierarchy in your enterprise data warehouse, but this organization hierarchy must be loaded from different source systems because you got different HR systems for all these subsidiaries, essentially. So be it. Which means that the relationship is being loaded from different source systems, and the source system that delivers the relationship for the very first time gets the load date and the record source, just like in the hubs. And that's the idea of the record source for now. So the record source here in a link structure refers to the link itself, not to the hub references. And that's the basic idea, essentially. And yeah, so if a link refers to business keys from different source systems, so be it, because you're loading them independently into the hub structures. And the link doesn't really care where this business key came from initially. The business key can come from different source systems in the hubs, more or less at the same time, right? The hub only captures the first occurrence of the business key in the loading procedures. That's it. So the record source is no distinguishing factor here in the link structure or in the hub structure itself. And just keep in mind, the record source should not be used in any business-related queries. So it should never be used in any, let's say, downstream queries for let's say, charting some diagrams, right? Or for distinguishing business keys from different source systems. When you have, let's say, an overlap of a business key, that you have 42 in two different systems, and 42 identifies a different customer in each system. You have to extend the business key by some, we call it source identifier often, but a source identifier just says what is the source system that generates the business key. So what's the leading system that generates this business key? Could be Salesforce, could be SAP. But it's not, you don't use the record source for that. The record source is for debugging purposes, not for business queries. So it's just for debugging, and you could write whatever you want. If you are using it for overlapping business keys or overlapping relationships, sometimes you have to use SAP now or Salesforce or something, right? So that's not going to work. The record source is also not used for auditing. So in order to prove that a business key came from a source system or what the data flows and so on, or data lineages or whatever, we don't use that. For the raw data vault, for the staging area, data lakes, we use metadata to capture the data lineage, not the record source. Okay. And if you ever need something similar, something to capture where you got business keys from, the solution would be, the only viable solution would be a record source tracking satellite to find out which source system delivered which business keys. That's the actual solution, not the record source in the hub or in a link. All right, so that's the idea. So the value of a record source could be anything. That's the last question here. What would be record source value? Anything you want. You can write in let's say the birthday of your husband or wife. Doesn't matter. It's your, if it helps in your debugging, so be it. That's okay. All right. So never use it in any primary key, unique key constraint on the link. No, nothing. No downstream queries. It's really only for debugging purposes. That's it. All right. Cool. Yeah. If you have a question like this, and apologies again for last time's recording. This time, at least the video stream didn't fail. So, but I also know that the audio works. So, yeah. If you have a question like this, use this form here, sfr.ee/dvfriday. And yeah, submit your questions. You can upload images if you want, pictures from your whiteboard, for example, of your team. And I'm happy to show that. Yeah, hope to see you next Friday. Have a nice weekend, and yeah, see you next Friday. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining today. If you'd like to discuss this further, give us a call on the number below here, and we're happy to discuss this with you. See you next time. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.